Hello, my name's Ben from Novel Wines in Bath, and I'm going to introduce you to Furmint for Furmint February. So this is an educational video where I introduce you to the different styles of ferment you can buy, and they're all available from Novel Wines. So if you're looking to add an incredible ferment to your wine list this season, look no further than us and get in touch if you've got any questions. So let me start off with the two types of sparkling wine. We've got a tank method ferment coming from Sanzon Tokaj. Now this is an interesting wine to have on your list as a slight upgrade to Pesco. Still got that lovely crisp pear orchard fruit, but there's some really nice minerality and salinity in there. And that's a delicious kind of entry-level aperitif style sparkling. What we also have coming from Tokaj is this Pesco, which is a traditional method sparkling wine made using the Furmint variety. And here you have some lees aging, you have some creamy toastiness, you've got that orchard fruit, you have a little bit of dosage, so there's some nice gentle sugar in there as well. And it's a very kind of full plush style of sparkling wine. Really interesting to try because volcanic fizz has a real unique character about it that's really worth looking out for. So they're the sparkling wines. Right, we're going to dive into dry ferment now, and there's a lot of options you can have on your wine list. Ferment generally is kind of like Chardonnay meets Riesling. There's some floral Viognier notes in there if you add a grape variety called Harsh Levelou, which is another important Tokaj grape variety that loves to be blended with ferment. But generally speaking, you have the structure and oak affinity that you have of a great Chardonnay, and also that terroir driven kind of sense of place. And then you have this lean, very high acidity that you get in the great Riesling wines of the Rheingau and Mosel. So let me start as a great introduction style of ferment. That's this one. This is coming from Gizella, which is Laszlo Sigali's winery. And this is around the village of Mad. Now this has a very interesting style because there's no oak in here. You get all the fruit, so you get this lovely soft kind of apple, pear fruit, a little bit of honeysuckle aroma, which is coming mainly from that Harsh Levelou grape that's in the blend. But then you have this lovely full plush kind of mouthfeel. This is a great kind of introduction ferment to your list, and it's going to go really well. If you put that on by the glass, I guarantee you're going to sell tons of it over the summer period. So, single vineyards, that's when it gets very interesting. Ferment is like Burgundy. You get all these snapshots of the same grape variety, but really designed by the way they're grown and where they're grown and who actually grows them. So the first one I got here is Ran. Now this is a gravelly vineyard based near the village of Vineyard, just towards the northeast of Tokaj. And here you have great drainage, which adds more acidity to the wine and real freshness. Now this Ran is very zippy. It has a lovely lime zest kind of component to it. And then you have loads of crisp apple fruit. It's a great wine to kind of sit next to a Riesling as something different, bring some minerality in. Or if you like the wines of Santorini and things like that, this is a really good one to try. Sanzon Tokaj is organic and very boutique. This is only about 1,100 bottles in this range. So grab one of those if you like the sound of that. And then we move on to some warmer climate type ferments. So the first I've got here is the Meshes Mali, or the Honey Pot Vineyard. And this is coming from Ákos Peter. This is a lovely vineyard. It's kind of in a bowl, so you have this lovely use of sunshine, you have slightly deeper soil, really ripe grapes, and you're getting here some of that orange ginger note that sometimes you find in ferment, but also more kind of red apple rather than green apple, a little bit of white pear, even some peach starts creeping in when you're in the honey pot vineyards. But the alcohol remains fairly low, so it's 12.5%. So it's a good way to get that really nice full-bodied taste without putting too much alcohol into the style. Up to some interesting ones here. So Zafir, very small plot. This is a limited edition parcel wine. There is again a blend of Furmint and Harsh Levelou. You have a little bit of oak on here, so you're adding some of that great oak affinity that Furmint carries, bringing some nuttiness, some toastiness, some riper red fruit. And this is a really beautiful ferment for that very satisfying, voluptuous mouthfeel. So the Zafir is very limited edition, but a great single vineyard to look out for if you want lots of character from a very small place. So that's the Zafir Furmint Harsh Levelou. We're coming on to some very interesting styles now. I have the fully organic certified Tokaj Nobilis coming from the Barakone vineyard. Now this has some older vines. It has a deeper, very rich style, slightly higher alcohol, not too much, 13% ABV. But here you have kind of a deeper sense of that minerality, a real nuttiness to the wine. The apple moves into slightly dried apple fruit. The pear is quite rich. The honey notes are very savoury, like local honey style of drinking. This is a perfect roast dinner wine. I mean, if you're having roast turkey or something like that, this will go with the turkey and all the trimmings really, really well. That's a proper bold ferment. You're not going to forget that in a hurry. Really nice to try. Best of Tokaj. So this is Andre Demeter. He's got some of the best plots in the whole of the Tokaj region around the village of Mad. This is kind of Grand Cru territory. So I have the Kirai, which is King's Hill. This is a steep kind of older vineyard that has real kind of intensity in the fruit. You're getting this really golden flecked ferment here. You get straw, you get licorice, you get honey, you get lots of kind of fresh hay notes. There's some real intensity about this wine, and a real salinity on the finish. It's properly volcanic in that real true sense of the word. Lots of freshness, but lots of intensity. And that's a real food wine for something that's fine dining. It's going to sit quite high on your wine list, but it's going to impress people who give it a go. So that's the Kirai, the King's Hill from Demeter. But he also has this, the very special Uria 57, which is a single acre of vines with almost no topsoil at all really pebbly, and the vines are over 100 years old and they have to root really deeply down into the soil to get any kind of nutrients into the vine. They're kind of real intense, real structure. Here you have all sorts going on. I could talk for days about this. You've got orange, you've got some waxy apple notes, you've got real white pear, you've got this kind of honeyed peach note in the wine. Some smokiness as well starts coming in here, but real breadth and depth of flavour. This is an outstanding Tokaj ferment. It's 2015, so warm and big, and I think you're going to love this. This is very special. I've only got a few bottles of this, but if you fancy putting some on as window dressing or for those very special customers, this is a real quality ferment wine. So Andre Demeter, really worth looking out for. But of course, being Tokaj specialists and ferment specialists with one of the best lists for Hungarian wine in the UK, we could hardly forget the sweeties. So we have 3 here, and I've mainly picked 3 just to tell you the styles of sweet wine that we have on our list, but we also have a range of about 20-30 different Tokajs you can choose from. The first style then is the late harvest. Now you're probably aware of late harvest wine. It's where the grapes start to dry on the vine, the sugars accentuate, and ideally you want some good acidity in there still. So this is the Tundamersha from Kardos. Tundamersha meaning fairy tale. Beautiful, lightly sweet white wine with kind of 100 grams of sugar in there. Now this has this lovely white pear, apple, honey, all those things you're getting in those dry ferments, but with that soft sweetness to finish. This is going to go really well with blue cheese or nicely chilled. It's really good value for money, and it's a great kind of digestive to have on your list if you're not going all into sweet wine. If you just want something on there that's really nice, reliable, it's going to be a great crowd pleaser, this is the sweet wine that everyone really loves. So that's a late harvest Tokaj. In there you have Furmint and a grape called Saga Muscatoli, which is this muscat floral kind of flavour in there. And then I got the 2 kind of main Tokaj styles of sweet wine. So the first is Salma Rodney, and I have the whole Verge 2011 here, which is delicious. Very, very honeyed, almost caramel notes, very toasty, lots of dried fruit, kind of moving into apricot and mandarin oranges, that sort of thing. So lovely, sweet, but almost tropical notes to the wine. And this has oak aging, so you have some spice and some toast as well. This is, it means as it comes. So Salma Rodney is a word that means as it comes, and you have a mix here of late harvest and botrytis noble rot grapes, and that means you get this real kind of honeyed rich character, but balanced by the freshness that you have in this kind of late harvest style as well. So this is a great Tokaj for people who are new to it, but really do want that sweet, satisfying Tokaj experience. This is going to be the kind of sweet Tokaj that's also really good value on fine dining wine lists, or anyone who has a kind of Asian inspired menu and wants some sweetness on there as well. Now for the kind of granddaddy of sweet wines in Tokaj, which is the Tokaj Azu. Now this is using only those botrytis berries. Those botrytis is where you have noble rot in the grapes. It pierces it ever so slightly, and all of the water drains out of the grape, and you're left with those concentrated sugars, and all that raisined, dried apricot, honey, caramel kind of flavour stays in the wine. Now you've got fantastic acidity in Peter Pintz's dessert wine, and it's 2013, which is probably one of the finest sweet Tokaj vintages of all time. And this is the Azu 6 Petunias, which is a higher grading of sugar, and it has this real honey depth to it, but this electric acidity that you don't even really get in regions like Sauterne, which you might better know for sweet wine. Now this is the kind of sweet wine where if you're pairing it with desserts, it's going to go well, but it's really going to shine against like duck liver pâtés and some kind of real gamey style dishes. It's also lovely with truffle, so if you've got truffle on your menu, having a sweet wine, don't be afraid of that, works really, really well. And your really strong blue cheese is going to work nicely as well. So that's a quick guide to the sweet wines of Tokaj. Obviously lots more to talk about and lots of exciting dry ferment to try. And if you want to know more, get in touch with me at Novel Wines and we can answer all your questions. Cheers.